Hey guys, I'm Gab from Stalgard and today I'm bringing a video long overdue. It's been approximately 3 months, so I hope this video makes up for the long delay. Alright, so I want to touch upon two topics, terrain generation and the NDS. Both of these will be getting a more in-depth video in the future as well, when both are more polished. The two tools have been developed by two of our interns, Jeroen and Valentijn, who I've had the pleasure of working with for the past few months. First up, the terrain generation. The terrain generation in its current state has been developed by Jeroen and is designed to generate high quality terrain with a maximum size of 16 square kilometers. It handles 3 different biomes at the moment: plains, hills and mountains. The first step is generating the height map given a certain seed, and I have kept the size of the terrain rather small here so that generating goes quick. Here the size of the terrain is 512 by 512 meters. The images you can see here are different visualizations of the same terrain that show height info as well as erosion info. So the images on the top right here shows water, where the water is located. And the other images show flow of the water as well as height map data and erosion data. Some mountains are visible if I just hide this real quick. So mountains are visible here on the right, and there are some nice hills in between, and there are some nice plains here as well. If I just rotate the camera a bit, you can see in more detail how the terrain looks. So in the next couple of months, I will be working on texturing the terrain and adding some nice props such as trees and rocks. The next step is generating paths. Jeroen implemented this using ant colony optimization, which is an optimization technique used for solving loads of different problems. Basically what it does is a bunch of ants walk around and leave behind pheromones, and these pheromones can signal whether an ant has found its destination or that it's just exploring and wandering around. And other ants can recognize these signals and follow trails to the destination that way. If you let it run for a while, you get nice natural looking paths. If I visualize the ants here, you can see that the ants are following behind each other in trails, and some are also wandering off, trying to find new optimal paths. So you can see clearly lines are forming here and here and here between these brown boxes, which are meant to illustrate exits of a city or a village in this case. So if I project this one on a plane, so if I just turn off the visualization of the terrain, you can see that these paths are clearly not optimal, but they're not supposed to be. They're supposed to be natural looking and not perfect straight roads between cities. That would be ugly. So if I show the terrain again as well, and then the ends also, you can see that the paths also follow the terrain a bit. So the ants do not only take into account the length or the distance to their destination, they also take into account steepness of the terrain. The other thing I wanted to talk about is the NDS. Valentijn and I have worked on this a ton in the last months. It is a more abstract topic, so bear with me, but it's very much one of the pillars of our game. NDS is short for Narrative Director System, which is basically the system that determines the tension and difficulty curves. It monitors players and influences which events happen in the game accordingly. It is based on and an extension of the director system used in Left 4 Dead, if you are familiar with that game. What the system does is it has a certain tension curve it needs to follow, like the standard 3 arc structure you can see here, with a build-up to the subclimax, then a fall in tension to a rest or descent stage, then rising tension again to the climax, and then a conclusion state where the tension falls off until, well, the end. The NDS will try to follow this curve as much as possible by quote-unquote guesstimating the current tension that the player feels. It does this by measuring a bunch of stuff like player health, the amount of health lost in the last engagement, the time since the last engagement, etc. Almost every action the player does influences the amount of tension they feel, and the NDS guesses what the tension is right now. If the current tension is too far off the target tension, the NDS will spawn events to keep the player, yes you, engaged and the tension right. For example, if the NDS measures that the tension is too low, for example we are at the subclimax but the tension is too low, it will spawn something like a bandit attack or skeletons that rise out of the ground or something similar. If the tension is too high, so say we are in the descending phase but the tension is still way up here, the NDS will either do nothing and let the tension slowly diminish, or help the player out by spawning an item or a friendly traveler, for example. There's much more we can dive into and the examples are a bit oversimplified, but this video is probably already way too long for a simple update video. The only thing about the system I want to mention is that it will be very customizable for the end user, for example modders and creators, which will hopefully lead to very interesting adventures. I hope you guys are excited as we are about these features. Please leave feedback below, especially about the video quality itself, not the quantity, we know that's a bit low. Anyway, thanks for watching and I will see you in the next one.